Former Seattle Police Chief Adrian Diaz has been fired. Mayor Bruce Harrell's office just confirmed the news to King 5. This comes after allegations surfaced that he had a relationship with his former director of communications, Jamie Tompkins, and lied about it. Both Diaz and Tompkins deny having a romantic relationship. Tompkins stepped down in November after both were put on leave for personnel reasons. We have been covering this storyline for several months. Back in May, Diaz was reassigned to work on special projects. Former King County Sheriff Sue Rahr stepped in as interim chief. In October, Diaz filed a $10 million claim against the city, alleging discrimination and harassment after expressing his sexual orientation.
The city of Worcester launched a hotline where you can report police misconduct. It's the number that you see on your screen right here, 774-548-1696. According to the city, you can report discrimination, bias, harassment, or the use of excessive force. You can also fill out a form on the city's website. City leaders say that they're hoping this ensures proper policies and procedures are in place. This comes about a week after a scathing report from the Department of Justice accused the Worcester Police Department of civil rights violations.
After the incident, Christopher Connelly was charged with assaulting a law enforcement officer. Those charges were dropped, and now Connelly's fighting back with a lawsuit in federal court.
In February, Christopher Connelly went to his ex-girlfriend's home in Lake Worth Beach to pick up his keys and wallet. Then he says a neighbor called deputies complaining about noise. According to the arrest report, Connelly refused to leave and, quote, appeared to be under the influence of alcohol or narcotics.
If you go over there, you're going to get tased.
Body camera video shows Connelly appearing to shove a deputy, then attempting to run away. A neighbor's cell phone captured deputies chasing Connelly down. And then
He was elbowed in the neck, in the face.
This is what Connelly looked like after he was taken to the hospital.
It's now in the aftermath of being beaten, having anxiety, suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder, suffering a concussion, traumatic brain injury.
Pain on the left side of my head, shooting all the way back to my neck.
On Connelly's behalf, the California-based Law for the People filed a federal civil rights lawsuit against the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office and the three deputies making the arrest. The lawsuit makes claims of excessive force and unlawful arrest.
Are you bitter?
I just want justice. I don't want it to happen to anybody else.
The Attorney General says the indictments have a lot to do with how truthful the officers were during the investigation.
Copy 1050 just occurred, Bar Harbor.
The indictments of Anne Arundel County Police Corporal Kieran Schnell and Officer Eddie Vasquez are based on their actions during what the Attorney General calls an unauthorized high-speed chase December 7th of last year in Pasadena that ended in a deadly crash.
This is the first time that IID has charged any officer for wrongdoing.
This follows a 10-month probe by the Maryland Attorney General's Office Independent Investigations Division.
These officers failed to tell the truth that they chased the car for more than 3 miles at speeds in excess of 100 miles per hour, including over a 2-lane drawbridge with a speed limit posted on that bridge at 35 miles per hour.
Camera footage from 2 different angles shows a white 4-door Infiniti driving at a high rate of speed across the Stony Creek drawbridge, quickly followed by 2 Anne Arundel County police cars.
The officers never activated their emergency equipment. The officers did not make a notification that they were engaged in a pursuit.
The car crashed into a utility pole at Fort Smallwood and Bar Harbor roads.
Sir, are you okay?
The passenger, 22-year-old Damian Gardner of Baltimore, died at the scene. The driver was critically injured. The officers' body-worn cameras did record video and audio when they arrived seconds later at the crash scene.
I can't even get in this strap. Sir, are you okay? Is there anyone else in here?
The Anne Arundel County Police Chief tells 11 News she and her executive command staff reviewed all of the evidence available to them. And at this time, based on our review, we are not aware of any conduct demonstrated by our officers that rises to the level of a violation of criminal law. But the AG's office disagrees.
Prosecution for misconduct in office is appropriate and necessary.
Corporal Schnell has been with the Anne Arundel County Police Department for 5 years. Officer Vasquez, 4 years.
Good morning and welcome to the Bad Apple Report. It's 7:30 a.m. bright and early right here at home on the range. Thank you so much for being here today, folks. I really appreciate it. I think we're going to start our day out in New York. We're going to get naked in New York. That's what we're going to do. That is, if we get pulled over by the cops there. A suburban police force in New York strip searched nearly everyone it arrested. Whoa! Dang. That's what the DOJ says. Mount Vernon, New York. A suburban New York police department routinely violated residents' civil rights, including making illegal arrests and using unnecessary strip and cavities. These guys. Cavity searches, according to the new U.S. Department of Justice report. Well, okay. The report on a pattern and practice of police misconduct at the department in Mount Vernon, just north of New York City, is one of the 12 investigations opened by the DOJ into local policing agencies in 2021, including those sparked by the killings of George Floyd in Minneapolis and Breonna Taylor in Kentucky. No single incident prompted the investigation into Mount Vernon's approximately 160-officer force, but the illegal strip search in 2020 of two women, one age 65 and the other 75, were emblematic of the department's shortcomings, said the report, which was released Thursday. Arrested on suspicion of buying drugs, officers searched the woman's car, found nothing, hauled them into the police station in handcuffs, the report said. We're talking about these two old ladies now. Supervisors there approved a fully nude strip search by detectives who told them to bend over and cough. You guys, after an internal investigation found that the officers had lied about the pair buying drugs, those involved were docked a few vacation days, the report said. This is why we do the Bad Apple Report, because cops suck. It's true, they do. The police union representing officers in the department did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Until at least the fall of 2022, it was the Mount Vernon force practice to strip search every person it arrested, according to the report. Can you believe this, you guys? Officers also strip searched people they did not arrest, detained, and interrogated people without formally arresting them and arrested. Hey, can I see your ID? And can you imagine that, you guys? Literally, nice to meet. Amazing. Illegal strip and cavity searches continued until at least 2023. The report found the investigators said that the practice was curtailed during the probe. Oh, what a nice word. We are not confident that these practices have ended. Of course they haven't. Once these guys get their hands on some butt, that's all they want to do is get their hands on some butt. I'm telling you, among a catalog of unconstitutional arrests, the DOJ identified a case where officers took the mother of a shooting victim to a police station and interrogated her, even as her dying daughter was rushed to the hospital. The daughter, struck by a stray bullet, died while her mother was in custody. Officers didn't articulate probable cause for her detention. I can't even believe I just read that. The department also suffered from financial mismanagement, which exacerbated pervasive human rights violations rooted in illegal policies and lack of training. The report said, no, they just hire monsters, and one monster tells the other monster, this is what we do around here, Monsters, Inc. Okay. It noted that low salaries make it hard to attract and retain quality officers. Oh, right. These guys are just monsters. Anyways, the report noted the city is already taking steps to improve its policy or its policing. We don't believe it. It offered a series of recommendations, blah, blah, blah. In a statement, Mount Vernon said the city would work with the DOJ. We don't care. All right. That's what they do in Mount Vernon. They strip search old ladies. Make them bend over and cough. All right, let's move on with the show.
Long was in the courtroom this morning with his attorney. Judge Mitch Hayes says he considered the prosecution's motion to exclude evidence on the arrest and the firing of one of the officers who confronted Long, which is Max Dotson. Judge Hayes says that he decided to exclude the evidence because Dotson's past actions have nothing to do with this case. Dotson's own criminal case started in late 2022. This is video from Marvin Long's encounter with police. Long in the red sweatshirt is talking with police, and according to Sheffield Police Department, he didn't comply. The video goes on to show the officers pulling and fighting with Long, who was unarmed. The video shows a police dog being commanded to attack Long. Long was bitten by the dog several times. This all happened on Long's porch in June of 2021. One of the officers involved was Sergeant Nick Reisner, who was killed while on duty in October of 2021 in Muscle Shoals. And Long has filed a lawsuit against the officers involved in this incident. In Colbert County, Whitney Leibel, News 19.
I don't know what took so long in this case for the ultimate discipline to come out.
It took nearly a year for the Colorado Supreme Court to officially censure the former Denver Juvenile Court's presiding judge, Brett Woods, for drinking on the job.
Judge Woods was the presiding juvenile officer of the Denver Juvenile Court for a number of years, and as a result, we had many attorneys appearing in front of him.
Woods was a judge in Denver for 16 years, and Melanie Jordan's office knows him well. She's the policy director at the Office of Respondent Parents Counsel, representing impoverished parents in child custody cases.
The focus of our court.
In a 2016 interview with the City and County of Denver, Woods explained the cases he rules on in juvenile court.
Where parents have maybe gotten involved in drugs, or they're abusing alcohol, or they have mental health issues, and they're not being able to take care of their children the way they should.
Woods was suspended in December 2023 after an investigation by the Colorado Commission on Judicial Discipline revealed Woods was, quote, concealing alcohol in a Starbucks cup and is reported to use alcohol every day. Every day for years. The investigation found Woods fired one of his clerks for reporting his alcohol impairment back in 2019.
Nobody else felt that they could come forward during that intervening 4-year time frame.
The investigation also reported witnesses observing Woods to be, quote, disengaged in the performance of his judicial functions and often improperly delegate his decision-making to others.
For parents who are in these cases, having one positive UA or one positive breathalyzer means that your kids don't come home or that your rights are terminated. From 2019 to 2023, he did terminate over 100 parents' rights during that time frame.
Woods stepped down in February and admitted to the allegations. Jordan says this year-long investigation means the case involving parents terminated by Woods will be nearly impossible to appeal.
I absolutely think it would have been better for the parents that we represent to have answers earlier.
Uh-oh. We have an off-duty Fort Worth officer who's been arrested and accused of drunken driving in Grand Prairie. Dang, an off-duty Fort Worth police officer is on restricted duty after being arrested in Grand Prairie on Sunday on suspicion of drunken driving. That's some crazy kind of driving there, that drunken driving. Fort Worth police officers department said Tuesday that Officer W. Nash, I wonder what the W stands for. He was arrested by Grand Prairie police just after 8 p.m. and charged with driving while intoxicated. What about drunken driving? Okay, Fort Worth police did not release the officer's first name or share details about what led to Nash being stopped by Grand Prairie police. W. Okay, after learning about his arrest, the department said the Internal Affairs began an investigation. Okay, the FWPD also said Nash was placed on restricted duty and stripped him of his police authority. Dang. Stripped. Okay. Well, ongoing criminal investigation goes on. That's what they got. And the Fort Worth Police Department's going to say a bunch of, and that's that. Check it out. Old W. Nash. Wonder what the W stands for. Okay, on with the show.
Nearly a decade, Kevin Rishlick says he was a trusted aide to former Culpeper County Sheriff Scott Jenkins. According to his testimony in 2011, Rishlick says he gave Jenkins a $5,000 donation and in return got an auxiliary deputy badge, which gave him all the same rights as a sworn deputy. Rishlick says he ended up becoming a key campaign fundraiser for Jenkins, recruiting Rick Rahim, among others, to donate to Jenkins, calling Rahim a big fish in text messages the jury saw. There were others Rishlick helped recruit, Fred Gumbener among them. Rishlick told jurors he was usually there when the money and badges changed hands. Prosecutors say, though, when the IRS came knocking on Rishlick's door in 2019, asking about millions in taxes Rishlick hadn't paid on his businesses, Rishlick turned on his longtime friend, telling the FBI Jenkins was taking money for bribes for credentials. The FBI turned Rishlick into an informant, setting him up to record meeting after meeting between him and the former sheriff. And today, on tape, the jury heard Jenkins talking about the alleged scheme, as the former sheriff sat just feet away. Speaking about Rick Rahim, a convicted felon who pleaded guilty to bribing Jenkins and, in return, getting both a badge and restored firearm rights, the former sheriff was captured on tape telling Rishlick, "You got a felony record. Now you got a clean record and can carry a firearm, and we followed it up by swearing you in. Name another sheriff in the state of Virginia that would do that." And that Jenkins later said, "I feel like we were very equitable. I truly feel what support Rahim gave me, I more than made up for by doing more than I told him originally." As jurors listen to Jenkins on tape and in other moments watch him take envelopes and gift bags prosecutors say had checks and cash inside, the former sheriff took notes but showed little emotion. On cross-examination, Jenkins' defense worked to discredit Richlick, reminding jurors Richlick is the one who brought the donors, including 2 FBI undercover agents, to Jenkins, and that Richlick's tax problems in another case could be helped by his cooperation in this one. Earlier in the trial, telling the jury, Richlick needed to work something out. He needed to save himself. He came to the government and spun a tale of conspiracy and bribery. The case against Jenkins is expected to wrap up later this week. In Charlottesville, Ted Oberg for the News 4 IT.
Mass torture at a mid-state prison, and that's what a lawsuit alleges tonight. Seth Kaplan has been digging into the details and is live with the story. Seth.
Valerie, we are talking about Dauphin County Prison. The prison itself has been as much the focus of local news in recent years as the actions of the prisoners inside. Well, now a lawsuit on behalf of the prisoners by a group called the Abolitionist Law Center says the prison retaliated against individuals suspected of smoking synthetic marijuana by depriving entire cell blocks for a month of necessities like toilet paper, soap, and warm clothing, and by cutting power and heat. The suit claims a dozen guards in riot gear, quote, assaulted a prisoner who complained. The Abolitionist Law Center says for Dauphin County Prison to, quote, launch this campaign of mass torture is abominable and its actions violate the Constitution and basic human decency. Commissioner Justin Douglas wasn't in office yet at the time of the alleged abuses, but said he was, quote, deeply disturbed by the allegations, while adding, I believe it is essential to let this process play out fully. If any inappropriate actions occurred, it is important there are appropriate consequences.
Okay, what do we got here, folks? Looks like Barney and Clyde. Dangerous duo. 2 Philly corrections officers charged in separate contraband smuggling schemes. Separate? What? 2 current Fromhold Correctional Facility corrections officers are accused of smuggling contraband for cash in Philadelphia. Okay, Roderick Price, age 41, and Christina Ingram, age 23, were both arrested for their alleged roles in 2 smuggling schemes, said the DA. Krasner says the case is an example of rooting out corruption in the prison system. Whoa, I guess so. Authorities say there's no indication that these 2 officers will work together, but they had separate operations going on at the same time. Wild. Okay, when you take money to bring contraband into correctional institutions, you endanger everyone. You create a climate and culture of lawlessness in that prison. This is completely unacceptable, says Krasner. Okay, Price was arrested at his home on Tuesday, and Ingram was arrested at CFCF. Ooh, on the job, huh? That must have been embarrassing. Authorities said this all began during the investigation of a shooting and kidnapping. It was discovered that inmates were receiving contraband like cell phones, charging cords, AirPods, and drugs, which officials were able to trace back to the 2 correctional officers. Wow. The DA's office said that Price and Ingram were paid by inmates or their families to smuggle cell phones and narcotics into the jail, and they were then sold to inmates for profit. These correction officers were helping to fuel a market with the Philadelphia jails for cell phones and narcotics. This poses a danger to inmates, correctional officers, and the community at large, the assistant DA said. Well, he's just repeating what the DA just said a few paragraphs earlier, but hey, authorities say in the past inmates have used contraband to contact and intimidate victims and witnesses of crimes or contact co-conspirators outside of jail. Not good. Both officers are being charged with corrupt organization, criminal conspiracy, dealing in illegal proceeds, contraband, and other related offenses. Wow. 2 separate schemes going on. Crazy. Okay, let's move on with the show.
Brazen robbery caught on camera in East Oakland hits a small phone store. The owner tells us the response by police, though, is less than ideal. KTVU's Don Vakar has a story.
The Mr. Phone Repair Shop on 98th and International in East Oakland, which feeds and clothes 5 families, was hit and totally ransacked by a flash theft crew at about 6 a.m. Wednesday, despite physical and digital security measures painstakingly installed to prevent it. It serves East Oakland by fixing broken phones, selling new electronics, and facilitating multitudes of customers in getting on prepaid plans they can afford.
We do help a lot of people out here. If sometimes they're short on money, we'll let them go, right? And we fix about 10 to 15 phones every single day.
Mohammed said he summoned police repeatedly, even when the burglary was underway.
When I called 911, she told me, and I quote, she said, "Stop calling this because this is an emergency line." Like, this is not an emergency, right? Like 15 people broke in. That's a crime, isn't it? And then I started calling the non-emergency line, and I'm on hold for 10 minutes, and nobody picked up. I called, actually, matter of fact, like 5 or 6 times. I'm on hold.
He says police did not show up for more than 9 hours.
Every single phone that we have in here, we have a tracker inside the phone, and some watches inside the box, we put an air tag so to track them down, and we know exactly where the phones are at. But sadly, you can't. We told the cops that over the phone, and they didn't do anything.
Fear is now a factor at this recently opened and badly needed store in the community.
Sometimes you don't go to sleep, right? And you really you're in fear of you don't know when your store is going to get broken into.
Mohammed says losses are likely to exceed $100,000, but he will rebuild.
I'm from Libya, and back home, I can promise you, we don't have anything like this. I've never heard of anything like this over there. And if something happens like that over there, they will show up in 5 minutes or less. This is the United States of America. It should not be normal at all.
Such is the ongoing reality of small businesses in the city of Oaks, something the next leadership team must fix as a main priority. Tom Bakar, KTVU Fox 2 News.
Family and friends said their final goodbyes to Terrell police officer Jacob Candenosa today. Leading up to his funeral services, a procession led his loved ones from Terrell Police Headquarters to Lake Point Church in Rockwall. Candenosa was conducting a traffic stop last Sunday off Highway 34 when he was shot, and he later died at a hospital in Forney. Police say the suspect led officers on a chase but was eventually taken into custody. Candenosa was a Marine and worked for the Dallas County Sheriff's Office before working for Terrell PD. He was just days away from his 29th birthday when he was killed. He leaves behind a wife and a daughter.